What up, Wavehealernation? Welcome back to another episode. I got my good friend here and friend of the show, Kevin Horton.
Hello, everyone.
And we just had a good day of practice, wind it down a little bit. And a couple weeks ago, I had an idea. I said, Kevin, let's do another podcast episode. It's been a while. I was recently just on Breathe, Faith, and Creativity podcast for the second time.
Thank you very much again, Justin. That was a great episode.
Yes, thank you. And in that episode, we were just talking about kind of what we have both been working on and what I've done since my first interview. So today, I had an idea, and at first I didn't know what I wanted to talk about, but it dawned on me when I was at WonderCon last week. Just being around a bunch of creative energy and being around a lot of creative people, I came up with the topic of how important is it to have a creative outlet? Ran it by Kevin. He loved it. So here we are.
It's extremely important, Justin.
Yeah. I just want to start off by saying, Kevin, what are some of your creative outlets?
Right now, honestly, if you were to look at the episode list of Breathe, Faith, and Creativity podcast, that podcast is my creative outlet. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the different interviews that I've done, start with season 2, it was more technical. I would do interviews. We would have a specific way of doing things. It would always be the same thing. Mm-hmm. It'd be the intro, questions, outro, lightning round. This third season, it started out regular, but it turned into more of an introspection. Mm. So I think that's where my creative outlet has morphed. It's not always, I still interview guests, as I did with Justin, but a lot of the recent episodes have been little things that I couldn't get out of my head. Things would happen, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night thinking about them. The last episode I did, if you want to go look at Breathe, Faith, and Creativity podcast, the title, Koalas. Such a unusual title. And it's all about an experience I had at the San Diego Zoo. And so you look at the titles are even different than before. It used to be formula. Now it's kind of whatever I feel. And isn't that the beauty about creative outlet? Mm-hmm. I just turn the recorder on, much like this, and talk.
Yeah, and I've come to find that, once you find your creative outlet, you have multiple ones. And that's kind of something else I wanted to discuss too, because I know we both have multiple creative outlets. And I know that for both of us, when we are in the groove and we're in the flow and we're doing them, we feel a lot better, we look a lot better, we just are overall more well-beings. And I feel like when we get away from those creative outlets, that's when we become stressed out, depressed, sad,
we creatively die.
Right. You feel like you don't, all those negative thoughts start to seep in. You don't like the way you look, you feel, all that jazz.
A lot of times Justin has called me and he'll ask me one question, how you doing? And I'm like, and he goes, you need to get more creative. You laugh on it, but you know what that means. Yeah. You feel like, I'm doing okay. No, you're not.
Well, and I think, too, a lot of our creative outlets are just simply things that we love to do. Going to concerts, listening to music, podcasting, getting together and geeking out over all that stuff. It makes a difference.
It's healthy.
Yeah. And I've been in a space where I have a good group of friends that I can do that more with now, and I'm very thankful for that.
How does that feel?
It feels like I've been missing this for so long. And I feel like in my 30s, I started to realize, you just need that stuff. Because when you don't have it, again, you start to feel like you're alone, and then you connect with people, and you're like, you love that too? Oh, man, let's get together and watch stuff together, or, talk about it, or, just
and
do
you
more creative
feel
stuff.
15 again.
Yeah. It's
Even
great.
though we're both not 15, I think
we're both 865 years old.
It's been 65 years since I've said that.
Yeah. So, Kevin, I want to talk about what are some of your favorite creative outlets? Like, do you favor one or a couple over the others?
My favorite creative outlet, and it's been one since I was a kid, and you've experienced it, live concerts.
Yeah.
Did I say it again? Live concerts.
Yeah.
There is something about when the lights go down,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to say the name again, Alice Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you're going to get into when you go there. You see all the crowd. Boy, they look different.
Yeah.
You see all the crowd, and you look at the range of ages, and didn't I tell you, I go, did you realize that there was a person of much older than us? There's two couples right next to us at the Alice Cooper show with Ace Frehley.
And they knew every single word to like every single
And
song.
they knew every single, and they were just like, it tripped me out, because it's a universal language.
Yeah.
And it transports you to the world that they want you to see for 2 hours. And for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, you forget your problems, you forget your differences, you forget you're just enveloped in this
Connected.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah. You're connected with other people by the things you love.
And I look back on, because I've recently auditioned for some things, and they've said to me before, what drives you? What makes you different? And I say things like I'm an encyclopedia for my friends of 80s music, because they couldn't figure the lyrics. They would always ask me. And I always thought that was kind of just, everybody's like that. But they picked that out, and I talked about that. And you think about it later, I go, well, what seems mundane to me, because I see myself all the time, really is important to somebody else. And I can give you an example. When I did a podcast episode again, where I just needed to get something out, Justin and I call it word vomit,
Mm-hmm.
or feeling vomit. I just need to talk.
Yeah.
So I did that for a podcast, and I put it out, and you think, I don't know who needs to listen to this. And I got a response from a listener that said that was exactly what I needed to hear.
Yeah, those are the moments we live for, right?
And it's like it so my creative outburst, which is therapeutic for me, you package it and you put music on it, and you put it out to the world, and it impacts somebody else.
Yeah.
That's a creative outlet.
Yes. First of all, Kevin, it's fun just to listen to you and watch you talk about this, because you look excited, like you're 15 years old again.
I am not 15 years old. If you see some pictures, you'll be like, who's that old guy?
Yeah, I think the second thing you hit on is that's absolutely right. I thought about that this weekend, just kind of processing everything of being at WonderCon and still being able to do this. Creating an emotional connection. And we do that through the stuff that we love, right? Like pop culture, cartoons, anime, music, wrestling, acting, voiceover, improv, concerts. And speaking of that, I don't think there's anything else like any kind of live entertainment, whether it's a comedy show or a concert or a play, whatever it is. There's nothing like live entertainment, because it's just, you feed off of that energy from the crowd.
And I have to tell you that you woke me up to something about stand-up comedy. We talked about it. I don't think I have told you.
No.
Because you have told me about that. You've gone to these stand-up comedy shows, and you really enjoy them. So I started looking at stand-up comedy in a whole new way, and I love it. You've helped me have a new appreciation for it again. I heard a clip by the great Wanda Sykes today.
Mm-hmm.
I just had it on a replay, though, all the way home, the same joke, and I kept, every time she hit that one joke, I laughed like a little kid again, and I said, this is beautiful, because comedians, they cross the line, or they talk about what people are really feeling, and somehow it's funny.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's the best medicine, is just sit there and laugh and have a good time with the people you love. And it's healing. It's the best medicine.
That's the most important part of it, is whatever you do, it's healing. When I get to the end of a concert,
Mm-hmm.
what do we do when we come home? talk about the concert
Yeah, you couldn't see it, but he was flapping his hands.
instead of flapping my mouth, which is why I do podcasts.
No, it really does. It feels like you had a uplifted spiritual experience. You feel like you transcended to like another being or level or something when you do these things.
And some people do sports, some people do
Mm-hmm.
other things, they do learning. We just love concerts. And can you count how many that we've been to together?
It's been a few. And I'm glad you pointed that out, because what I wanted to say about that too is I thought about that this weekend. I was like, Tsunami Healing, as you've seen and as you're experiencing, is taking a different direction. Kind of like Breathe did. Different kinds of episodes. So now you still got interviews, you got vlogs, you're getting more scene study, more insight into what we're doing in front of the camera and behind it and around it. And I thought about, like, why do I still do conventions? Like, why did God give me the opportunity to still be able to do this?
So I'll ask you, Justin, why do you still do conventions?
Yeah, so I thought about this, and because I still love doing them. And I don't want to stop, but at the same time, I've kind of taken a step back from it because I've been focusing more on acting. And I thought about, and I had this discussion with multiple friends. It's like, well, you go to it, you meet a bunch of people, you put it out as a vlog, and like, I don't know, you get into that spell of like comparing yourself to like looking at other people who are like putting it out live at the show. They're giving the best updates, and you're not putting your stuff out till like a week later. And it's like, well, why should I even do this? I'm spending all this time editing. I get like 10 views. What's the point, right? But then I thought about it, and I said, yeah, I went to this thing. I had a great time. I loved it. I met so many people. I took the time to create something where there wasn't a piece of content before. I put that content out there, and those 10 views that it got, 7 of them reached out to me and said, like you said, that's exactly what I needed to see. I'm so proud of you. That's
Beautiful.
Exactly what I wanted to hear. And then you realize, like, I realized, and I think someone said this from The Walking Dead on another show. It said that people need this. Because we might not meet them, or we might not ever meet them, or maybe we'll meet them years later at a convention or something, and that person tells you, I've been following you, I listened to every single episode, you helped me so much through a dark time. And we've both had that.
Big time.
And you will eventually, if you do any kind of creative journey like that. At some point, you'll eventually experience something along those lines. And that's why we do it. Because of your creative outlet, like you said, you have created an emotional connection with somebody through the medium of something that you both love and connect with. That's what it's all about. And I got to remind myself that sometimes, because you can get stuck in that burnt out mode of, I don't want to edit this. People aren't going to look at it. People don't care. Or you can get past yourself and you can remember that you're not doing this only for you. You're doing this for a much bigger purpose. So it's really about that connection with people and that emotional connection that happens. Because it's like when you go to Comic-Con or any kind of convention, people are there for the fandom. People love all kinds of different things.
That's why they're there.
And you connect through those things. And that's what I love about Tsunami Healing and about Breathe, Faith and Creativity, is because I expose my listeners to so many different things, right? And our listeners might not like every single thing. You might not like anime. You might not like cartoons. But you love music. You love UFC and boxing. You love concerts. Like, you're going to find... I expose you to so many different things because I have a taste in so many different things. But, like, hopefully one of those things catches on to you. And I wanted to talk about, too, like, some of my favorite creative outlets are meditation and journaling. Because I feel like when I do those daily, I feel so much more free. I feel more grounded, connected. And I feel like when I get away from those things, that's when I start to feel like I'm not enough or I'm stressed out. And I feel like it's just... And they change, right? Because, like, sometimes my favorite creative outlet is journaling. Sometimes my favorite creative outlet is practicing acting. And then some days it's just sitting here podcasting with you. So, like, it changes. Yeah. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Let it change. Like, it's going to rotate. I just feel like do whatever you need to do in that moment so that you get what you need and you feel good.
And it's very self-centered, but it's also self, what do you call it, self-healing.
Yeah.
What do you call it? I can't think of the word right now, but where you, self-care.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's self-care.
Right. And you need that because you have to show up for yourself first so you can show up for everybody else.
I'll give you another example of a concert and the context of this. In 2 weeks, I get to go see Gordon Lightfoot, 84 years old.
Still doing it.
Still doing it. And people are out there, and, age gets us all. His voice is not where it was 40 years ago. I don't look like I did 40 years ago. Do you look like you did
I'm not 40
25 years ago?
Yeah.
I had to think that for a second.
Right.
You looked at me like, get the number right. So
I'm close, but I'm not there yet.
So and my friends say, literally, why are you going to go see him? Because they feel like he's past his prime. Mm-hmm. The reason I go see it is when I was little, I have a stark memory of sitting by the pool somewhere, some neighborhood house that my mom would always take me. And I would hear these two songs on the radio. And it was Sundown and If You Could Read My Mind by Gordon Lightfoot. And I remember sitting there having just a carefree time. So whenever I grieve or feel sad or feel lonely, because, the L word, I feel it too. I felt it last night. See, talk about feeling lonely. Gordon, when you study his song structure, fascinating songwriter. Mm-hmm. So I got to see him 2 years ago when he was on his 82nd. The title of the concert was 80 and Still Going. Mm-hmm. I got the chance, and at the last minute, maybe cost about $100, they said, you want to sit right in front of Gordon Lightfoot? And I'm like, yeah. So literally where I was, there's a chair in front of us. It's about 6 feet from us. That's where he was standing, and I was sitting 6 feet here. And as God is my witness, I felt my parents with me. Mm-hmm. That day when he was singing, he would look at me, and I would feel transported back.
Yeah.
To where it was more than just a concert for me. And so the reason I go again is I want to go back to that healing feeling again of just Gordon having this connection. So that it's saying the same thing that you just said about connection. Whatever we do, it's all about connection.
Mm-hmm. That too, Kevin. All right, so it's pretty obvious. Like, it's important to have some kind of outlet, right? Like you said, for your own mental well-being, just to be able to have somebody to talk to, or something that you have a hobby that you can do to feel like you're getting closer to your purpose. So for those of them out there, maybe there's people out there who don't have a creative outlet. And I think it's important too to talk about, in order to have a creative outlet, first you need to feel safe. Mm-hmm. So I feel like take care of you first. Like, have your essentials: food, shelter, water. Like, if you can, in a place like, where you can rest and sleep, right? Shelter. And sometimes that needs to take priority. And then you need to get yourself straight with that. And I know not everybody's situation is the same. So I would recommend to make sure that you feel safe. And then once you start finding a creative outlet, you start feeling like you have this freedom again, right?
Mm-hmm.
The freedom to be yourself. So for people out there, maybe they don't know what their creative outlet is, or they're curious about things. How would you suggest to somebody to find a creative outlet?
A creative outlet to me is something as a natural part of you that is not something that you have to muster up mm-hmm. or create.
Yeah, it should be easy and fun.
It's a
right?
natural part of your personality mm-hmm. that, well, some people say, well, I couldn't do what you do, and I do voice recording. Mm-hmm. And I always tell Dustin, well, I couldn't do what you do because it's more acting based, but given the chance, given practice, I could do what Justin's doing. Mm-hmm. And so there's that realization of don't have any idea of boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Erase your boundaries. Because we all have that creative outlet, whether it be creative writing.
Mm-hmm.
We both know Derek Ngoy,
Yep.
creative writer. He's also a pastor,
Yeah.
also a spoken word artist. So there's several things there. And then we know Christian Mendoza,
Mm-hmm.
who is a painter.
Yep.
Give us some paint brushes and everything, and then we'd be still doing the same design 8 hours later. He would be like on 3 different pictures.
Right.
So whatever it is, do you like to sing? Do you like to sing in the shower? Do that.
Yeah.
I mean, small things.
Mm-hmm.
Entertain yourself.
Yeah, I would say to kind of go off of that too is kind of go on a passion quest, and like start asking yourself questions. Well, what do I like?
Look for it.
What do I not like? And then what makes me happy? What makes me smile? And like start to take note of, man, this thing makes me feel like I'm 15 years old, like a kid again. Like, well, I want to do more of that thing.
You'll naturally gravitate toward it. It won't
Yeah.
be something that will. It's not contrived.
Yeah, and I mean, trying something like meditation. I remember the first time I did it. Like, it might be a little difficult at first, but if you feel like it's opening things up for you, like keep sticking with it. You know, same thing with like journaling, prayer, same thing.
Exercise.
Exercise, yeah, that might be difficult at first, but then maybe you discover that you love it.
I remember the first time I went to a gym that I have called Cycle Bar
Mhm.
months ago.
Yeah.
My leg muscles revolted after that. They said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
You're just trying to do that now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot easier. And what has happened, like Justin just said, repetition. Show up.
Yeah.
So that's the other word, as I always say, just show up.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself a chance to be a kid again, whatever that means to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, if you love doing anything in entertainment, acting, voiceover, improv, dancing, singing, that might be a little difficult at first, but like Kevin said, I mean, start singing in the shower, in your car, start dancing in your living room, or, start acting.
I've done all 3, by the way, of all those things. I'm like, yep.
With like you and your phone, you don't have to like be a professional at every single thing, and you'll probably work a long time for it, but if you love it, like I love playing golf. I just love being outside. Like, I'm probably terrible at golf. I haven't played in a long time.
I am. I'm raising my hand. I go, I'm horrible at
But
golf.
I just love to do it. I like to go out there and just putt for an hour, work on it, because you get a little bit better. I'll give you an example. I like playing video games, and I play Halo a lot with my cousin and his friends. Now, there's ranking all the way up to Diamond and Onyx, and then there's the lower end. There's like Bronze and Silver. I'm at the low end, at a Bronze and Silver. You kind of saw where that was going. My cousin is an Onyx and a Diamond, and I play with all his Onyx and Diamond friends. And his friend said something to me that was really true, but it was really funny. I said, hey, man, I had never played with him before. We just started playing. I was like, hey, man, just want to let you know right now, I'm a like Bronze and Silver level player. Like, I'm not good at this. I just play this to like hang out with my cousin. He's like, well, you can always get better. And I was like, that's so true. Like, I'm terrible, but like the level that I'm at, I can just always get better. So
and that's the reality. You're like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I think you're not going to be a professional at every single thing. Like, some things you're just going to do, you're just going to do it for fun. Like, I can tell you I'm a lot better actor than I am a like Halo player. So yeah, I think it's important to talk about this. I think it's important to put yourself around creative people. You start to build your community. I always say it's like building your army, because like know a videographer, know a voiceover person, know a mic guy, know a sound guy. Because you're gonna need these people, and they're gonna need you. And if you that's how all the great stuff happens. Like Forrest Gump and Jaws, it was just a bunch of friends got together who were creative and started making something.
Networking, the N word, networking.
Yeah.
That's when you see that really happen, because if you surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
I have a friend who is an audio nerd, knows everything about microphones, and then so I'm struggling with microphone. I call him and he goes, Kevin, I have this microphone here. I'll just bring it on over, or I'll set it up for you. And you watch them do their thing.
Yeah.
What would take me 8 hours to figure out the step one, they were like, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
But if you surround yourself with the right people, when the right opportunities come,
Yeah.
sometimes they don't even come.
Well, the thing is, you don't feel like you're alone.
That's
because
the
you're
thing.
not. Yeah. I want to take a second to I've been doing this a lot. So I just want to be grateful that we're here with no masks. We're beyond COVID at this point. We're able to get together and do this again, because I remember there was a time where we thought we couldn't do this.
It was like a year.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. So I'm thankful because I feel like now we appreciate things so much more. Simple things, going to a restaurant, going to a convention. There's an actual convention with people at it. And you're not watching from, your home on TV or something like that, from a live stream. I just think,
So many things were taken
yeah,
so that when they're given back, you appreciate.
yeah. Kevin, while we're here, I want to take a few minutes to use this creative outlet, and let's just geek out a little bit. You got Rob Zombie and you got Alice Cooper coming to the Honda Center later this year.
Yep.
Midsummer Screen, I think, is sizing up to be another fun event. We just had an
Yep.
amazing event this past year. What are you excited about for Halloween this year?
Everything. Should I wait? Should I wait for? Did you like how I just?
No, go
Tell
ahead.
us
Tell
right
us.
I remember a couple years ago, and you're gonna smile once I bring this up again,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all something about facing your fears.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when we went to Monster Palooza? You told me to get in my best looking haunted getup,
Yeah.
because I'm going to take you there to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what are you going to go? No, we're going to see what you're going to do. And for years I've been telling you, or apparently telling everybody, that I was afraid of Linda Blair.
Yeah.
He said, we're going to get you to get over that fear. How are we going to do it? And you remember how I did it? You walk up to this autograph line. We waited till 4 o'clock on Sunday, when she had probably seen 7,000 people.
Yeah.
I walked up, got through the security line, stared at her, and I just said right out, I said, I'm afraid of you in The Exorcist. Can we talk about something else that you're doing? And she lit up. You left to go do something, you came back, and you saw me in full costume, Halloween costume, down there playing with Linda Blair's dog.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are you doing? I said, well, she asked me to play with her golden retriever, so I'm down there playing with her dog. And she said, well, I wanted to see how he reacted to you in a scary costume. Am I still afraid of Linda Blair? The reason I'm afraid of her is because that part she played, which was Regan in The Exorcist,
Mm-hmm.
I turned it on when I was 10, and it traumatized me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just an example of the shenanigans we go through that end up to be healing.
Yeah, I mean, she was the sweetest person.
She even told me, she goes, thank goodness you're not going to ask me about a part I did 40 years ago.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to experience that with you, and that was pre-COVID.
Right before COVID, actually.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then you had this amazing opportunity with Sarah Karloff.
I will never forget that.
We talked a lot about that. So I'm just grateful to still be able to do this.
Me too.
As you guys know, like I said, Tsunami Healing is evolving. It's changing. I'm still happy to still have a platform to put these things out, because I still think it matters and people want to see it, and I still love doing it. So
That's the important part.
yeah. So creative outlets. What are some of like before as we're winding down here? What are some of like obscure ones that you kind of forget about, but you'll do them sometimes, and then you come back and you do it, and you're like, oh, I forgot I love to do this.
Watching marathons of Laurel and Hardy and the Three Stooges.
I like that.
And I don't know why. I can tell you why. It's because my mom, rest in peace, Mom, she instilled upon me when I was little. She would sit with us. Okay, I'll say the Three Stooges and Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Now, how the two go together, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's my mom would sit with me watching Elvira,
Mm-hmm.
and she would sit with me watching the Three Stooges. And I think she would laugh harder than I did at that. And she transferred that joy of watching the Three Stooges do their thing.
Yeah.
So when I feel a creative outlet, I want to be inspired.
Mm-hmm.
Now I watch the Three Stooges for the technical way that they did their comedy.
Yeah.
A different look at it.
Yeah, and then I wanted to bring up a couple things. I'm going to tie this all together. So for me, I do this a lot, but I don't think about it as I really love going to theme parks, and I think we both do. I do that a lot. I go to a lot of theme parks. Another one is wrestling. I really love like WWE type wrestling. Especially growing up as a kid, and I feel like that one's kind of like golf, where I'll leave it for a while, but then I'll come back and realize I love it. And then another one for me is just watching like cartoons on YouTube. Like I still go back and just watch Looney Tunes on YouTube because I just sit there and I laugh, and it just makes me happy. And I think the thing that is all those things, Elvira, Three Stooges, wrestling, theme parks,
Tex Avery cartoons.
it's two things. It's an emotional connection
Mm-hmm.
that it brings you, and it's a way to make you happy.
It's a way also to, because we can talk about it, to expel loneliness.
Yeah, because it makes you feel connected back to your parents. How does Elvira and Three Stooges make you feel connected back to your parents? You just said it. You used to sit there and watch it with your mom.
And I met Cassandra.
Mm-hmm.
It was my first public outing after my mom passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to meet her.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm first in line.
Yeah.
And there's signs everywhere that says, don't talk about any other thing, just sign the document, have the signed thing, move on.
Yeah.
And she took liberty with me. I said, I'm not going to mention my mom because I was this close to crying.
Mm-hmm.
I get right up to the table and I just blurted out. My mom just passed away, and I had a big memory of watching you back on Channel 9, and she literally broke character, had me get close, and she encouraged me in the middle of all that. So that was impactful to me to this day, because she would tell me things like, don't ever lose that memory.
Yeah. I know you had a lot of moments like that with Sarah Karloff too.
With thousands of people around, it was like just the two of us, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah. Again, as we wind down here, just a couple of things to take it in a fun little direction. Have you ever had a creative outlet and you started doing it and you realized you didn't like it?
Yes.
What was it for you?
Playing the trumpet.
Playing the trumpet?
Yeah.
What about it did you not like?
I wasn't good at playing the trumpet.
Yeah.
I wanted to take a musical instrument. I really wanted to play drums, but my dad didn't like that because he likes having the pictures stay the same on the wall.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do the trumpet. Okay, so they invested some money in doing that, and it didn't go well.
Yeah.
But I tried it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Like, nothing comes to mind for me as far as, like, an outlet that I tried and I didn't like it or it didn't help or work. If I think of any, I'll come back and share it with you guys. But
Another one for me is playing tennis.
tennis.
And I wanted to try out for the tennis team. Obviously, I didn't make it.
uh,
But you realize how hard tennis is.
yeah. I think for me, like, I just come to accept the fact that I'm not going to be good at everything that I do. I think it's good to do things and be okay with not being good at it. Like, for example, the only reason I really play Halo anymore is just to, like, hang out with my best friend from high school and my cousin. But, like, there are times when I literally wanted to, like, break my TV or, like, chuck the controller at the TV because I suck at it so bad. I'm not good at that game. Like, it's terrible. But I still do it.
Another situation where I have a voiceover coach I work with, and we work great together, but were a couple times where his directness
Mm-hmm.
really angered me,
Yeah.
and I let him know, and you realize that I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
We had to kind of sign off, and I came back and apologized, but and then you go, where did that come from? And where we talk about in Tsunami Healing, it's all about imperfection and
Mm-hmm.
different things, and they come up.
Yeah, and I think too, what I was trying to get at that is just getting outside of your comfort zone. I feel like the more you do that, the more you will have confidence in the things that you are good at, and the things that you do love to do, because you've traveled outside of your boundaries, and you're okay with that, you know.
It's cathartic. That word keeps coming up.
Yeah, I think it's good to know yourself and what you like and what you don't like, and be okay with like being different. I think that's hard for a lot of people too. It's just be okay with being different. Know that what you like is not what the masses like, and that's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, you tell a lot of people, well, we went to Midsummer Scream. They're like, why?
Yeah, because we love to do it. Because
And
we get excited about Halloween.
The other question is, why?
Yeah,
And you know what? I don't know.
yeah, it's just fun to us.
And then you share the story of meeting the what I call the Halloween royalty,
Mm-hmm.
the Lugosi, Karloff, and Cheney families.
Yeah.
But if somebody who's not interested in it, they give you this blank look and
Like,
go,
who are they?
But if you go back to our review of Midsummer when we talked about getting the signed copy, and that surprise I did for you where
I still have it.
I couldn't remember his first name, but Ron Cheney
Yeah.
signed a picture of
Wolfman.
Lon Chaney Jr.
Yeah.
And I had looked for a year for something special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a good one. It reminds me to keep going in my acting career. And it reminds me that I have people that believe in me and care about me. So thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that.
But it's just something about little small things. And so I go circling back to Gordon Lightfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the reason I go see him a second time?
Mm-hmm.
Reliving the creative experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Circling back to that, anything you want to leave the people with out there?
Never give up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take no for an answer. I know so many people in business now that if they said or took the advice of people, they would have never created places like Disneyland,
Yeah.
Knott's Berry Farm.
Mm-hmm.
They would have never existed if they would have taken the advice of all their friends that said, "Oh, you don't want
You'll never make it.
to." For Walter Knott, boysenberry. No one will want to know what a boysenberry is.
Yeah. You know, two things come to mind for me, and I won't single people out, but when I first started taking voiceover classes, there were some people who said, well, why are you doing that? And I said, because I like it. And then they found out how much money I was paying for it and how much time I was investing in it. And they said, and they told me, and I think that's a waste of your time. I don't think you should be doing that. And those same people, whenever I tell them I do anything in acting now, they think it's the coolest thing they've ever heard of. And I'm like, well, you didn't say that a few years ago. But now that I've, got a little bit of opportunities under my belt, so for me, that just makes it even sweeter for me because
it does.
yeah, not that there's a chip on my shoulder or anything, but there's just, it's like you said, don't ever give up, because you never know where it might lead you. And the other thing that it kind of led me to, and my dad shared this with me, talking about never giving up. When I first moved here, I had a really tough year, that first year in California, and I wanted to leave. And my dad told me, he said, don't go 90% of the way to turn around at the last 10%. He's like, you did all the hard stuff already. You moved here. That was the hardest part. He's like, now that you're here, stick it out. Give it another year. And I've been here for 8 years. So I can keep giving it another year. That just reminded me of that. But another thing I wanted to leave people with too, Kevin, is if you don't have a creative outlet, or you don't have anyone to talk to quote unquote word vomit, or to vent, or to let your feelings out, I highly recommend and suggest that you find something that works for you. Whether that's therapy, getting on medication, whether it's journaling, whether it's talking to somebody that you trust, whether it's going to concerts or going to conventions. Find something that makes you feel alive. Find something that makes you feel safe and creative and free. And I encourage you to find out who you are. Find out for yourself. What are you about? What do you like? What do you not like? What excites you? What turns you on? What turns on your creative light? And then once you find that, let your creative light shine. And then don't let anybody tell you that you need to have that light. Go out and be bright in the world. Because people need that. And they're going to see that you're shining bright and you feel free. And you're going to inspire other people to do the same thing for themselves. I don't know how many times I've tried something and I didn't even pursue it. I just tried it and people saw me do it, like public speaking. And then they became like chapters of their public speaking, like chapters. And I did it for maybe a week. So it's like you never know who's watching. You never know who's listening. You never know who you're out there helping. And it could be like the ones closest to you and they just never tell you. So I just encourage you to go find it. Go do it.
And then for me also is never discount your gift.
Yeah.
When I put out those odd sounding episodes,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm going to go back to koalas.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going back to the San Diego Zoo about 2 weeks ago. I had to get a picture for advertisement. And it was raining that day, and I was like, I don't want to, inside, I was like, I don't want to go, because you have to go down 2 hours and it's going to rain. And the train was late, so everything was going toward me not having a good day. And then I got the attitude of, I am going to have just as much fun because I choose to.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I doing this? Well, I like the koalas. And I went to get this photo, and somebody called out to our group, and they said, hey, we have a sleeping koala over here. Nobody else went. I went. And I just quietly got this picture, and it was just sleeping. And if you know a koala, they can be very aggressive, and they'll move. But right at that moment, I got the photo, and that's the one they used for the advertisement. And so if I would have listened to my inner voice, which is not always good to listen to, and I would have said, oh, forget it.
Yeah.
I'm really good at throwing in the towel. But also I'm really good at getting the towel thrown back at me, and someone telling me, like, Justin, hey, you dropped this.
Mm.
And I just want to reach out to anyone out there saying, if you feel lonely, it's okay to feel lonely. Let's just say it's okay. It's okay to feel down. It's okay to feel not right. But as my doctor would always say to me, Feel it, but don't live there.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it, but don't hang out there.
Mm-hmm.
Move on. And however you do it, for creative outlets for me during the pandemic, what did I watch on TV? Old game shows. Because somehow it took me back to a simpler time.
Mm-hmm.
Justin and I, when things finally opened, we would go to a certain ice cream store. We would sit socially distant in our cars and literally just stare at each other and make ourselves laugh. And that was the highlight of our day. But I still remember that.
Yeah.
Reaching out and connecting in different ways.
Yeah. You talk about taking it back to a simpler time, Kevin, and we'll close with this. Recently, I got a Keurig machine to make coffee and tea. And my favorite meal of the day is breakfast, especially brunch. So recently, I started drinking coffee and tea. And I love going to breakfast. You know that. We do that. And we're scheduled to do that here soon. But I thought about that, and the reason I love that so much is because it reminds me of my mom. My mom drinks coffee, so when I drink coffee, I think about my mom. So did my grandma. My grandma would always make a pot of coffee. And then I just got into tea from a very special friend that I don't really talk to anymore. But yeah, I found myself making breakfast a lot recently, and I was making breakfast at night. I went on this kick where I would make breakfast at night.
That's when the best it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
good stuff.
and I would sit there and I'd be like, why am I making all this breakfast stuff by myself for me? And I said, it's because I miss my mom. Because she lives all the way on the East Coast, and I live here on the West Coast. And I told her that. And I was glad I was able to tell her that, because now every time I eat breakfast, have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, I think about my mom and my grandma. So sometimes it's not the big things. Sometimes it's the little things that can be creative outlets for us, because just that creates an emotional connection for me. So, Kevin, I want to thank you for showing up today.
Thank you.
I want to thank myself for showing up today. I think we put in a lot of great work. Kevin and I just finished like a workshop together where we were working on some stuff, and then we just created this podcast. So thank you for always being willing to do these shows with me. I feel like it fills us up in ways that sometimes we can't even describe.
Can I be honest? I needed it. I need it.
Yeah, I told my friends that I just got together with last night. Like this is it. This is why we do this. We need this. I need this. You need this, and everyone out there who is going to listen is going to hear it at the exact right time, and they're going to need it too. So
you know what it means to me is you matter.
Yeah.
Even though I'm imperfect, you're imperfect. We've been through some things together where we've gone through
imperfect,
harsh times.
Yeah.
But things always work out.
Yeah.
It always works out for the best. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes all you can do is put one foot in front of the other. And I've literally called you and go, I don't know what I'm doing yet, but how are you?
Yeah. You just keep showing up, like you always say. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited. We'll see you down the road.
You bet we will.